back. Before we continue, I just want to give a quick overview of Angular. And by the way, some of this might also be the same in Nest. So let's just have a look. First of all my code is of course shared on GitHub. You can just go and find the link in the description. Now let's jump into the code. Inside the code, let's figure out first of all, how do we even start an Angular application? Well, to get started, you can do ng-serve. That will actually launch your application. And ng-serve is just a command that is built from the CLI tool. So it's just a way to get started. It'll build your entire application into JavaScript, CSS, some HTML, and from that, it'll run the application. Pretty neat, right? Another thing we can actually do if we want to start it in a different way is you can use the npm setup. So when you have npm installed on Node.js, you always have a package.json file. Inside the package.json file, you'll have some scripts. And those scripts are actually commands that you can run. So just to let you guys know, if you write npm run, you can start writing any of these commands. And notice, if I write npm run start, I'll run the command called ng-serve. So that's another way to get started with your Angular app. I'll press npm run start, and you'll notice it says ng-serve, and it'll launch the application. Now, while it launches, let's jump in and see the heart of any application, any web application. That's the index.html file. That's where everything launches from. Now, the index.html file in Angular is the same as any index.html file out there. It's pretty much just starts with an HTML selector, a head selector, and a body selector. And you can go and check out description about how this works if you want to, but think of it this way. This is where we put our metadata, and this is where we put our actual running data that we want to show to a customer. Let's try and have a look at what it looks like right now, our application. I just click the link down here, and it opens up in the browser. Notice this. You have a lot of great links like here, for instance, CLI documentation, Learn Angular. There's a lot of good links right here. We're going to clean that out now. Just to show you how Angular runs, let's get rid of this app root right here, and instead just create a small h1 tag that says hello world, nothing else. And look at what happens right here. I spelled that wrong, but who cares? It actually only shows that now. The Angular app is actually completely gone now. There's no Angular in this anymore. So that's how Angular works. Angular kind of throws the code inside this body right here by adding this selector called app root. Now, there's nothing magical in Angular. There's no magic. Everything is there for a reason, okay? So there must be somewhere in the code that it says app root as a selector. And there is. So let's jump into the app now. This is kind of where everything starts. The Angular code is really being launched from. First of all, how do we find this app root? Well, it's actually inside a component. The app root is the selector we see right here inside that component. So this is kind of how Angular works. They have components that are, in my case, they're going to be features, single features. Like I would like to make a component to create something. I would like to make a component to send a chat. I would like to make a component to list all users in the chat, right? So a component will be a single unit for a single feature. That's how Angular works with component. So let's try and have a look at what a component actually is. A component is these 4 files right here. In this case, the component has a test file. You actually don't need that. If you don't do unit testing, you don't need that. You can just get rid of it. I will do unit testing later, but not in this series, so I'll just get rid of it for now. Then we have 3 files left. What are they all about? Well, first of all, we have the TypeScript file. That's kind of the glue. That would be the JavaScript file if you were building vanilla JavaScript, HTML, CSS. But the TypeScript file right here knows a few things. First of all, it knows that it's a component. So that means that it needs to have a selector of some kind. And the selector, again, this name right here, if I go in and put a T right here, you'll notice everything disappears. There we go. And if I go to the index.html and I add the T here as well, just to prove that this selector is bound together with this name right here, you'll notice that everything gets back. So that's kind of how that works. So let's just rename this again and rename this again. So that's kind of how everything is being run right here. How does this guy know the TypeScript file? How does that know to use the HTML file and the CSS file? Well, that's actually written right here inside the component as well. So it knows that it has a template URL for this HTML and it has a style URL for this styling right here. And that means that if I go in here and just clean everything up, let's just go into this HTML file and just clean all of this up and write hello in here instead. H2, hello. Like this, you'll notice that everything goes away again, and now we only have the hello. Okay, so that means this is actually this HTML that we're presenting right now. One more thing I want to mention is, inside the classes, we can actually start writing properties, methods, everything that we need in the HTML. And let's just start simple. If we make a property like this, we can actually use that property in the HTML. So let's go into the HTML again, and notice if I put in a double curly bracket right here inside the h2 tag, curly curly, and also end it with a double curly, I can actually now go and find that title in here. This is again pretty basic for any of the newer frameworks out there, especially single page applications, but I just wanted to show you guys. Now this title actually inside the HTML references the code in here. So that means it's going to put in this text you see right here. There we go. So that's how simple it is with the components in Angular. In my mind, the very simple way to explain components is their features, right? So if we have a feature in a component, then module would be like a list of different features working together. So maybe we would have 5 features in a module. So for instance, a product might have a way to list all products. It might have a way to delete a product, update a product, create a product. Now all of those would belong inside one module called the product module in my mind. That's what we call feature modules. And that's why the modules are here. Now the app module is like the heart of the application. That's the main module. So that's where we're going to bring all our new modules into play. Another module that's in here is the app routing module. This will only be used for routing. And if you guys remember, I added the small, I wanted to add routing. I said yes to that when we kind of created this application. And that's why this guy is here. Next lesson, we're going to try and build a chat module and add routing to that as well. So you can see how that is done. So that's pretty much it. Now you know just the basic. There's so much more to cover, but that's just the basics right here of an Angular application. We're going to build a lot of components. We're going to build new modules, and we're going to make the application grow slowly. And just let's see how far we can get. See you next time. Bye.